And the kids said, well, you've taught us to be leaders. You've taught us to be directors. Let us do it.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 10th annual 1985 Summer National Championship.
And I speak without exaggeration. The kids taught every note of music. They held every sectional. They called their own sectionals. They held them without me being there. They taught the drill, and they went to the Pacific Coast Invitational and came in 4th in music and 6th overall. Now that's the people sitting in front of you.
Will you please stand now as the students from McGrath High School from Alberta, Canada, and volunteers play the Canadian National Anthem, followed by the Marine Drum and Bugle Corps.
But they've got to learn they have to earn trust. They have to earn respect. And being a section leader is not an honor. It's a position of service.
Our jobs, one of our jobs as section leaders, is to incorporate the idea of goals and goal setting into every member of our section so that they can achieve and progress and be a benefit to our band.
This is a rather unique situation. Let me just give an overview here of what's happening. Is that we're at the MBA camp, and we've had out here on the field a band of campers mixed from all kinds of schools, right?
Correct.
And what we did is intersperse the Spirit of Alberta section leaders in with that band, and they're a working part of the band as well as getting the drill that you have just written for them. This group of section leaders responded well and took the ball and really began teaching that whole concept.
Yeah. We were a little slow on the first one because we're, like getting the cobwebs out. They haven't worked with me before. I haven't worked with them before, and we had to do some things to get that clear. But the second move, I gathered them together. I said, okay, we'll do the second move. You do your thing. Okay, as soon as we get there, go. And they went and they did their thing, and we took it, followed it back. They did their thing. They're like on those guys like white on rice. So they're all over the band, like the manpower.
The commanders and the experienced section leaders can conduct with reasonable notice, such as 1 week, any piece of concert or band literature in the folders.
Yeah, it works great because I think the stuff I've used the stuff I've learned in band in other classes like goal setting. I've used it in English and I've used it in math, and it's helped me a lot. And so I suppose when I get out into the real world, I'll understand that I have to do things and I'll have to set goals if I want to get anywhere in life. And I think that's really great what we're doing.
It has given them responsibility that I am still learning as a parent. But what they have learned here and the life skills, you can see the development as they grow. And the exciting thing is you see the carryover if you have younger children. And I really get a kick out of it when my 16-year-old, who's one of the assistant, well, we call them assistant commanders, starts using these skills on his 9- and 7-year-old brothers and sister.
Like the 1-minute manager, you mean?
You got it. He hasn't quite got it down at home yet, but he's working on it. But it does work, and it really helps him.
Hello, this is Larry McCormick. In our previous clinic and MTS program entitled Thinking Big for Small Bands, we watched Steve Brockway discuss how he coped with the problems he encountered in running a band in a school of less than 150 total students. He talked about the 3 major areas of consideration, including the budget or money, the talent pool, and the instruction pool. He showed us a bit of how he tackled the problems through maximizing the efficiency of the band in each of these areas. Much of his clinic centered around developing kids in the band as leaders who were capable of actually teaching and running the band. Steve's concept and experience in developing this method was so well received that we decided to bring him and his students back to give us the details and to show us live examples of this powerful program. So this is a series of programs in 3 parts where Steve demonstrates the techniques they use. You'll experience the extraordinary results of the program as you hear the students teach us about goal setting, praising, reprimanding, and the ABCs of leadership. Part 1 is the concept, the background, the problems of their school, how he cultivates and screens leaders, the job description of section leaders, and the benefits of the program. Part 2 is how we conduct regular leadership meetings. You'll see an actual simulated meeting with the students in front of a large group of band directors where they break down their method of passing out information, in-service training for leaders, and the principles of the report mechanism, which is the key to developing leaders. In Part 3, we'll receive a lesson from Steve's students on goal setting, praising, reprimanding, and the ABCs of leadership. For sure, you'll want your students to see this program as we witness the results through the powerful examples set by Steve's students.
There are several keys to successful management that these kids have to learn not to be gods and goddesses. Okay? Now, we have in-service training where we train each other. Okay? We've done the report mechanism, and we've done the information part. Now there's the in-service training, which we try to get to every week. 1 week it might be a trumpet section leader teaching trumpet to all the rest of us, teaching hand positions, teaching the problems that they run into and developing the embouchure. Another week it might be a flute instructor telling us about how to improve our playing as flutes, so that way when you have to stop your band and say, okay, clarinets, we need to work on such and such and such and such, all the other kids aren't sitting over there going, oh, those dumb clarinets, because you got some people who understand. But we're going to focus on a different part of it right now. We're going to talk about setting goals. Kim has given this block of instruction to our own kids. Okay? She found out last night she was going to give it to you.
Okay. First we have to analyze exactly why we need to set goals. And the most important reason is for progression, because goals motivate people to progress. There must be a goal to shoot at in order for someone to progress. Our jobs, one of our jobs as section leaders, is to incorporate the idea of goals and goal setting into every member of our section so that they can achieve and progress and be a benefit to our band. Another reason for goal setting is so that every member of the band will know exactly what is expected of him or her. A band can't be successful if no one's positively sure what they have to do to achieve and progress. There cannot be the assumption that every member of the band knows what needs to be accomplished in their band. It's proven that if goals are set, generally the person will rise to the level expected of him. And this on its own is a benefit to every member of the band. The third reason for setting and accomplishing goals is because goal setting is a basic tool for productive behavior. And that means exactly what it says. To produce good behavior, goal setting must be applied. This analyzes to the student exactly what good performance looks like. Now we can go over how to set 1-minute goals. You have to begin setting goals that will benefit the band as a whole, but will be an asset to you personally as well. These are goals such as leadership goals, functional goals, performance goals. Our music pass-off goals that we've been talking about, those are a really good example of goals that benefit everybody. Each goal should be written on a separate piece of paper and dated from the date that it was written to the target date. This is so that the goal can be reviewed and constantly checked for success or progression. These are our goal sheets, if you've been wondering what they are. And I have 2 completed that aren't personal, so I can pass them around to you if you'd like to see them.
Oh, let's just do it. Can we interrupt what you're doing? Okay, Kim has her name on it. She says it's a long-term goal. What's your goal, Kim?
It's to learn to be more firm with those in my band so as they will know that I'm trying to help them accomplish their goal. And then I got specific and I said how I was going to help them accomplish it. And I said not yell at anyone and let them know that I mean to accomplish something, that I'm not there just for show, and that I'm not a showmanship commander. That's not what I'm there for. I'm there to teach and help. And then I have the date that I started it, and that was in May 1985, and my target date is in October. That's that contest. And so this is a long-term goal. And then in my self-evaluation, I put that I was doing good so far, but that I had to continue because it is long-term.
Okay, and I evaluated it, and I've spoken with her about this particular goal, and I've observed her progress and the change in her behavior and her leadership skills as a commander, and I have a one-word response.
Great.
Great.
And then it has a further action at the bottom, and it has a blank for none, a blank for continue, or a blank for spot check, and I continue because it's long-term.
Okay, go. Next one, and you can use the names if you'd like.
It says, set up with 3 girls, Bonnie Dye, Bonnie Volkowski, and Sandy Wachnitz, convenient times to tutor them and get all their music passed off by the end of the school year. Because I'm a flute, and they need me in the flute section to help tutor. And so every Friday at noon I set that as my specific date. And then the date written,
Pardon me, that's me. You meet with them at Friday at noon. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the date written is May 17th, and my target date was June 27th, the day we get out of school. And self-evaluation was that the girls are progressing and they're by passing off their music quickly. And I've set up meetings with them. And then Mr. Brockway evaluated it and said, good work. And that's a continuation goal too, because it's long term.
And if I can interrupt again for a second before you continue, we have goal sheets here. Those of you who would like to take copies of what we use for goal sheets, they'll be up front. Feel free to take them. While we're also talking about it, somebody asked just before we came in, what are the duties of the section leader? There are a stack of copies of the Director Mag over there, and the article and the whole outlines of the section leader are there, so they're free to take afterwards also. Okay, go ahead, Kim, sorry.
Okay. The reason that we write them down is so that we can review them quickly, like all the time, and more frequently, and we can check for our success or our failure or our progression. Each goal should be no longer than 250 words, or 1 minute, and that's where we get the name 1 minute goal. A good outline to follow when setting goals is to take a minute of your time. That's all you need to look at those goals, and then to look at your performance and compare and see if your behavior and your action matches that goal. If you've succeeded, then you continue with that goal and you build upon it. But you also set a new one, a higher one. If you happen to fail, then you need to review and analyze exactly why you failed. Then you solve the problem by beginning to produce better results. You have to realize that a problem only exists when there is a difference between what is actually happening and what you desire to be happening. This is when the section leaders materialize. They show the student who has failed at accomplishing a goal, who might feel down on himself, that they care and that they're willing to help him succeed. Then they accomplish the goal much easier because together, the section leader doesn't write it for him. He can't do it. He can't set the goal for somebody else. This person has to set it for himself. But the student will have that support, and he'll feel that those positive consequences that are surrounding him will help him to succeed. And then he begins to want success, and that makes a big difference. And Scott will be covering that area on praisings in a while. But the way I sometimes look at the whole concept of goal setting is in an inverted pyramid with a point at the bottom. You start with a few goals, a few small goals, and you continue until you've reached beyond, until you reach that one major goal that you've set, which is to be a bigger, better, stronger, productive band than you were before. And if the pyramid is falling apart, we as section leaders become the solution. We learn through our goal-setting techniques how to turn the bad situations around and start solving those problems. And as we've shown you, every Tuesday at noon we have a section leader meeting, and this is where we report to our band director or our field commander exactly and specifically what is happening in our section, whether it be problems, solutions, or successes. In time, section leaders learn to solve many of their problems on their own without the director's or their field commander's advice. This is because the goal setting has made them competent enough to solve their problems one at a time, and absolutely fantastically. And that's how easy the concept of goal setting is. Without goal setting, a championship band could never exist. That's the concept.
Good, thank you. Who sets goals? Yeah. Is a goal if the band director sets it for his kids?
No way.
No, it's not a goal until the kids accept the goal. The band director can put it in their heads, but the kids have to accept it for themselves. And then, of course, we talked about the step-like progression. Thank you. One thing which is just as important as goals, and a corollary of goals, which is called praising. Let's go for it, okay? Let's talk about praising.
Okay, here we have the second aspect of being a good section leader or commander is praising. Okay, praising is very important. The idea behind this, and this is a key phrase, okay, is to catch them doing something right and not wrong. Okay, the idea in a lot of organizations nowadays is to catch the person doing it wrong and then ream them out, and that really, your confidence in yourself just goes right down the drain. Okay. Okay, somebody has just done something right in your organization. Okay, this is how I see it. Okay, you got to give that person, you got to eye contact with that person. You got to look them right in the eyes, and you got to say, okay, this is what you've done right, and a touch. Okay, you can just come up to them and say, hey, good shot, way to go, that was great. Okay, they're gonna understand that. If you go like this and you put your arm around them and you say, hey, you know, they're gonna go. They're gonna go, you're weird. You get away from me. You're strange. Okay? He's not strange. He's
neurotic.
It's different. Okay? And that's all you need. It's just a brief contact. Okay, that lets them know that you're interested in what they're doing. Okay? And tell them. You got to tell them, and you got to tell them why exactly. Tell them specifically. Say, hey, you just did this 16 counts perfect. The time before that, I didn't even tell what you were doing. Okay? And if you just did it perfectly, you told me before you couldn't do it. That was a good shot. Way to go. Okay. Okay, if you do this, if you give them this praise, okay, they're going to respond in a number of ways, okay? They're going to respond because they get praising right off the bat, okay? Everybody loves to be praised. You like to be told, hey, you know, you just did that right, that was a good shot, way to go, okay? And because you're specific about what you just praise them about, they're going to know that you care, that you're interested in what they're doing. And another important, okay, you have to be consistent. If you're not consistent in your praising, you know, and by consistent, I mean, okay, you've had a rough day, you know, maybe the teachers are on your case, you know, maybe you got an F on your social exams or something like this. No, but, and you're down, you still, if that person did it right, you've got to do it. You just can't stand there and, well, I won't say nothing because I'm in a rotten mood, okay? That doesn't cut, that doesn't work, okay? And you don't have to praise the person for long periods of time, okay? You just sit there and because they're not going to like that. They're just going to kind of go, okay, and that's how we get, that's the phrasing of 1 minute praising, okay. And praising is always good incentive for people to work. Okay, I'm going to use the example of Philip, okay. Now Philip, you know, he's the one in our band that is a special case, okay. And this kid, if you jump up and down on his case, boy, he'll tell you right where to go. No sound, he'll just say, but as soon as you praise him and you say, hey, that was great, this guy will do anything for you, he'll love you. Just like that, you know, he's your buddy for life. And that's good, you need that. Okay, I'm just going to kind of summarize what I've said, okay. Number one is tell people up front that you're going to let them know what you're doing, okay. Tell them. Don't hide it, don't hide nothing back, you know. Praise people immediately, don't wait. Okay, you're practicing music, you know, okay. The third trumpet's just played this passage good, okay, the end of the passage comes, you stop everybody, you say, hey, that was great, you guys did an excellent job, way to go. And be specific when you tell people what they did right, okay? Don't, you know, get off the subject, just say, hey, you played these rhythms correctly, you played those notes correctly, that was a good shot. Tell people how you feel about what they just did. Because if they don't know, you know, they're going to wonder. They're going to say, well, is he praising me or is he just, what is he doing, you know? And stop for a moment, okay? Okay, let them feel the goodness inside, okay, that you're feeling. That's important too, okay? And encourage them to do more of the same. Encouragement, okay, we've talked about that, it's all good. shake hands or touch, the touch element, which is really important, so that they know exactly what you're feeling. And that's about it.
Good. Good. Just a second. You've got a question up here. Just a second. Okay, right over here.
This is the guy that used to give you trouble?
Nope. Nope, he's never given me a bit of hassle. We would like to bring to your attention again and point to you the book, The 1 Minute Manager. And it's, oh yeah, would you pass that forward for us, please? The 1 Minute Manager by Kenneth Blanchard and Spencer Johnson. I don't think that's of the same masters in Johnson Johnson, but they talk about the kinds of things that we're talking about. What we've done is we've tried to take it and shift it, and we have definitely shifted the material and twisted it, as they say you should, by the way, to our usage. Okay, and did you find this really helpful?
Oh, great.
Yeah, really dynamite book, isn't it? And the sequel to it is also just as dynamite, and it has revolutionized in the past 18 months the course and direction of what we do as section leaders and commanders and band director. I have grown more through working with my kids and trying to apply this book in the last 18 months than I did in the whole 10 years before that. It has just totally turned my head around as to how to manage kids and people so that their motivation level comes up. So I'd encourage you to really dig into it and get to know the book. We've talked about the first leg of management that we apply, which is 1 minute goals, or setting goals in any case, and we're getting short on goal sheets in case some who didn't get any. We can make more, we can photocopy more over here at the office. We've talked about the second leg, which is very, very critical and important in praising. As a band director, I'm especially weak here. I don't praise enough. I don't. I think I make kids work too hard before I give them that tap on the shoulder or that praise. At the same time, I don't think I'm a bitcher, but I critique very intently when I critique my band. I'm very direct and I'm very pointed. That's not good enough. We need to get better than that, but it isn't your fault. So when we talk about the concept of 1 minute reprimands, or we talk about critiquing, I don't like the word reprimand. I like the word critique instead, personally. When we talk about critique with a purpose, critique with a goal, and make it non-threatening so that the kid knows that you're not out to get him. We've all had the experience. We've all been burned by somebody who has had some type of a revenge motive, who's tried to get us, who's tried to put us on the hot seat, who's tried to put us on the defensive. And when a kid does something wrong, he does it either because he needs attention, and you need to give him a different kind of attention, or he just doesn't know what to do. And if he just doesn't know what to do, don't make him more defensive so he clams up. Instead, make your critique or your reprimand or whatever word you choose to use so that it helps him and it's a positive building experience for him. And we have a young man who's now going to tell us about his concept and what he has taught, and I didn't, he did. He taught the section leaders and the commanders about reprimands and critiquing, and I've asked Bruce if he would share his ideas with you today also. They do not parallel the book. I shouldn't say that. They are not the same as the book. They parallel it, and they're adapted to what he perceives to be our needs. Bruce, come on forward and go for it, pal.
All right. You've all heard about the goal setting from Tim and the praising from Scott. And it sounds hard, but it isn't. That's the easiest part. This is the hardest part because I have to know. Because if you do it wrong, if you do this wrong, you'll lose the kid. And if you do it right, then the kid won't feel bad about how you do it. It's the reprimand. Now, when you give it is when the kid makes a really significant mistake, like something. Like a little mistake, we all know that you just say, well, that's supposed to be B flat, not B sharp, and the kid doesn't care because that's something everybody does. But if it's a significant mistake, you give a short reprimand. and I stress short because if you chew him out forever, he's gonna really feel bad. Okay, what you do is you do it immediately after he makes the mistake. If you wait, he won't know really, he has to think back and he might not know. If you do it then, he'll say, I made this mistake right now, and he can see it. Okay? And that's just that. And be quick to respond, as I said, and don't, what I say, gunny sack, that's what the book says too, and I kind of like it. Don't gunny sack your reprimands. That is to say, don't watch the kid and keep piling up these things he does wrong, and then one time when you're mad at him, take them all in your bag and dump them in front of him, because he'll look at it and he won't know what he did wrong really. He'll just be overwhelmed and sort of put him into shell shock, you might say. When you reprimand, first you confirm the facts. You find out what he did wrong, and perhaps there's a reason he did something wrong. Say he has a sprained ankle and he's not marking time right with this foot. So you go up and you find out why he's not marking time. And they'll say he has a sprained ankle, and then it can end there. You don't have to reprimand him. But if it's something else, then you go up to the person and you make eye contact with them. And you say, Chris, I know you can play that note right, but you didn't do it. Okay. And then you say how you feel about the person. Okay, this guy, Scott. Say, Scott, I know you usually do a better job, but you know, it's just the way it goes. I'm really mad about your mistake. Usually you do really good. And then you let, I sit back for a minute, and let all this sink in, that what he did wrong, and you let it sink into him. And then I tell him how I value him. Okay, first you let
Your mic's up here.
no, first you let it sink in, and then you tell him how much you value him as a person. Okay, you let the reprimand sink in. Then you're always consistent, like Scott said. You don't. If I've had a really good day and the guy makes a mistake, I don't say, well, it's just a mistake. I'm in a good mood. I'll let it go. I have to be consistent, otherwise I'll be ineffective as a section leader. And always remember, when you finish the reprimand, finish the reprimand. Like this. David here. If my mic will still pick me up.
I'll take you here.
Okay. David, I'm really disappointed with that. And, okay? You got that? Yeah. And this. Okay? I'm really disappointed with this. And another thing. Okay, don't do that. Because the person, or yesterday you did this. Don't do that. Because the person will really, you're attacking the same thing over and over and over, and the person thinks, oh, I'll never do this right. And another thing, have a good sense of humor when you're reprimanding the person. If it's like, tell them you're angry and show it, but then afterwards joke about it. Or if you make the mistake, laugh about it if somebody else just does the reprimand on you or something. And I had something written down here that I wanted to say, but I can't seem to find it. Okay? Oh, and if you forget to do the second half, which is the praising half of a reprimand, make sure that the next day you go up and you do the second half of the reprimand, or in an hour or so, just to let the person know. Because you might walk away without doing it, he'll feel a little lost, you know, he'll think, oh, the guy hates me. And if he thinks that, then you may as well just shoot him and get him out of the band easy, instead of making him go through the process of saying he quits. Okay, and as Stringham said, he said it's very important to touch the guy. To go up and, hey, you're great, you know, but about that is if you do it, the person is just new in my section. Mr. Brockway is just new in my section. I say, give him a reprimand, then I praise him. I say, well, usually you're good, you're new. I expect that, except I don't know him that well. So I don't put my hand on his shoulder, because you never do that unless you're going to give the person something. If you're going to take, it's like a form of manipulation. If all you're doing, touching him for, is to manipulate him, then he's going to get on the defensive. If I can really go up to him and I can really say, you did a good job, and grab him by the shoulder or something, then that's when it's going to be effective, because it's going from you to him, not from him to you. And he really knows this guy cares for me and wants me to do well. And if Mr. Barker would like to add anything to that, that's basically what I think the reprimand's about.
1 minute praising. Good job. Good. Thank you. Okay, I would like to pursue that, some of Bruce's ideas just a little bit, because it is the touchiest area. We can all, I would think, we can all walk up to a kid and say, hey, good job, bud. You know, we do that, don't we? Hey, good for you, all right. And we sort of become cheerleaders sometimes, don't we? And it's easy to praise. It's harder to praise an individual than it is to praise the group. Have you ever noticed that? And so we have to learn how to praise individuals. And as we have to reprimand, sometimes it's not appropriate to reprimand. It's sometimes not appropriate. We have to find out why he made the mistake. What's another reason from your own experience? Would somebody like to come up and tell us why it is not appropriate to jump on a kid's case? Yes, come on up. Keith?
Okay, I just had a little bit of trouble in my own section. I was on a kid's case quite bad. I was trying to get him to reach his potential, and I was pushing him just a bit too hard, and he sort of got the message that I was on his case a little too hard compared to the other kids, and he more or less gave me the impression that he was going to split if I didn't ease off, and I needed him in the section because he was a really good and potential trumpet player. So I just let off a while and then used up a few of these others.
Let me suggest, okay, why did he feel that you were on his case?
I was...
Get to the root of the problem.
Okay, okay.
We have not talked about this. I don't know what he's going to say. This is something we have not shared, okay?
Okay. For every little mistake that he made, I would point it out and make sure that he got the point.
Okay, and so that started piling up.
Yeah.
Who was setting his goals for him?
I was.
Ah! So therefore, you're setting the goals for the kid.
Mm-hmm.
The kid has no he's not a stakeholder. He's not setting his own goals. How can you reprimand someone who has not made a commitment or set his goals?
Can't.
Good. Good comment. Good. Thanks for bringing that in. Anybody else want to bring up an inappropriate time to reprimand?
Another thing is, you can't reprimand a person if they don't know how to do anything. If you got a beginning kid, you know, and he's in there, and well, maybe not even beginning. If it helps, you know, if when you're beginning you can't do everything right, you know, you go in there, you get your trumpet out, and you go. you can't play as good as the first trumpets. They've been there twice as long. You can't. So if a kid plays a note wrong, you can't all of a sudden, you played that note wrong. You know, the kid's got to play it wrong. You know, you can't learn anything unless you do something wrong, and then you get taught how to do it right.
Good.
That's how you can't reprimand a kid that doesn't know how to do anything. You just have to help him more, help him set his goals.
Charisse, come on up. Thank you, Dennis. Charisse, we have a saying that we say to our 6th grade band kids. What's our saying? Do you know? I'm fishing now. I'm one of these. I'm casting a line for a specific answer, which is a terrible teaching technique, and I know it. What do we say to our little 6th grade kids? They're just starting on their horns. You've got
50,000. Yeah, 50,000 mistakes.
You've got 50,000 free mistakes. Start making them. Okay? And before anyone jumps on your case, you got 50,000 free mistakes, except for one mistake you're not allowed to make. Yeah.
Give up, yeah.
Don't try or don't give up. That's it. If you give up or if you don't try, then you can be reprimanded. But if the kid's trying as hard as he can and he just can't remember the difference between B flat and B natural down on that clarinet, and he just cannot remember, he just can't straighten that out in his mind, big deal if he does it wrong 100 times. That's not a reprimand situation. A reprimand situation is a situation when someone is deliberately sabotaging the boat. Not when he doesn't know what to do, or he can't do it, or he's just too tired, or he has not been by his band director, or his commander or section leader, taught properly. He can't do something right unless he knows how. Yes?
Do you have section leaders aren't supposed to set the goals? Do the students set their goals, or do you have a sort of a master guide of the things, levels and skills that you would like to have them follow? Let's start at level 1 and then start to work their way up.
Quasi yes and no. Quasi.
They choose which ones that they want to start at the beginning.
Yeah, and that, for example, as a group and as a section leaders, we set goals together. They take the goals and they say, as section leaders, we've decided that one of our goals to do is to do such and such. How can we do that as a section? So then each section sets its goals and how it can contribute. The individual teacher, the tutor with the individual kid will set goals. Let's try to get to page 12 by next Tuesday. Gee, I don't know if I can do that. Well, what do you think you can do? Page 10. Good, then let's go for page 10 by next Tuesday. You have to sometimes lead and help the kid try to set the goal, because especially when the kid's young, and if you say, what goals would you like to set? His head's spinning and he doesn't have any idea of the concept that you're talking about. So you have to teach the concept before the concept will work. But we just want to emphasize in the reprimands, you can't jump up and down on a case who makes a mistake. Even some of our best players they're just going to mess up. And boy, I'll sit back, and it happened just a couple weeks ago. We're in a rehearsal, and a kid was supposed to push second valve A natural, low brass. He pushed first valve A flat, and I was, we worked on that cotton picking chord for so long. I was so hacked off because we've got an A natural against an A flat. I looked over there and the kid looked back at me and I could see in his eyes, I knew it. I'm sorry, I messed up. I mean, why jump on him? He knows he made the mistake. He's just reprimanded himself. I don't need to reprimand him. No sense dragging him through the mud, so comment by. If someone else in the band may have heard it, they may have thought, gee, Brockway's ears are tinnier than I think. But no sense even commenting on it. He knew he made the mistake. He won't the next time. See, reprimands are not to punish kids. Reprimands are not to punish kids. I have a friend, a really close friend, who's a social behavioral psychologist. And he talks about spanking. And he says, I'm not sure spanking does that much good for the kids. He says, but it sure does for the parents. You know, we get revenge sometimes when we reprimand, and we have to be careful. And I do let my section leaders reprimand, and we do talk about it. And I think, and I can honestly say, they're very responsible in their reprimanding, and they know the difference when to reprimand and when to help a kid redirect his goals. And that's a very, very fine line, and I'm really proud of the way that they've been able to turn into 30-year-olds overnight and get a hold of that concept. Yes?
If a kid made a mistake, you see him slide down in the chair, you know he made a mistake.
Smile at him.
And you go back to the section, even though he knows it?
No. Let it go. I smile at him. Let it go. He knows he made it. He won't make it the next time through. There's no sense to drag him through the mud. Let him go. Yeah. He's safe. If he doesn't know he made the mistake, then we have to go back and we say, what note do we have here? Now, of course, I have a teaching technique. I don't tell him that he played an A flat and an A natural. I say, no, we have an A flat and an A natural in that measure. Which one is it supposed to be? And he has to think it through. Okay, push the buttons, gang, and I watch to make sure all the buttons are pushed right, and they're not allowed to look at each other's horns to make sure they can understand which note they're supposed to be pushing. Good, now we'll go back and do it. Now, I may know that you made the mistake, and I know that you didn't, but I'm not going to say you made the mistake. Now, these kids are starting to pick up on something, because I don't go around to the kids and say, you made the mistake. I say to the section, find the note in the section. Where's the mud? Okay, everybody think through it. Push the buttons. Look, think your notes. Where's that B flat or B natural? Where's the C sharp? Where is it? When we talk it through slowly and let the kid find himself. Otherwise, all he learns is how to read that note, not in that specific note in music, and he's not learning, and we're way off the subject now and digressing. Okay, yes?
One more thing on the reprimand. How far do you let the section leaders go as far as really working on, we're talking about note problems and other things. What about some other problems that have to do with the students' behavior as far as you go on your trip to Seattle and somebody is caught drinking or doing something.
First of all, that doesn't happen. Okay, but let me address it and answer it.
Somebody from John Glenn High School.
Yeah, I know.
He's gonna come in
We
and
talked about that.
He's going to come into your band, and he has this problem. He brings this problem to
Yeah,
your band.
I know.
Super trumpet player.
I'm in a unique situation, and I'm in a very beautiful situation, and I get rather emotional about this. We were in Denver, and it must have been 2 o'clock in the morning, and some kid came and woke me up, and he said, "Brock, there's trouble." Okay, what is it? We got kids over in this other band who are pushing drugs into our band. Is anybody taken? No. Neat. They came and reported right to me. So I got up and I woke their band director up and I said, "You got kids pushing drugs into our band." And he got up and he woke his whole band up at 2:30 in the morning, and they had a good solid discussion. My kids came to me. Unless you know something I don't, we have no smokers, we have no drinkers, we have kids who like to grab onto each other in warm embraces, but as far as I know, we have had no flagrant sexual violations on our trips. We tell our kids before we go, "Hey, you're neat kids, we trust you," and we do, and they respond. Remember, the whole thing is built on trust and a mutual trust, and I know that there are kids here in front of me who would not do something wrong that they might ordinarily do because they would not want to hurt their parents. And it keeps a lot of kids straight. And maybe it kept you straight when you were a teenager. And I know there are kids in front of me who would not do something wrong because they wouldn't want to hurt me. And I love them for that. Okay. I don't know if I can hang on to that one, okay? Yeah, the reprimand. You need to know when to reprimand and when to redirect the action, and that's a hard one. And it's something that I'm proud of these kids because that's the hardest part, as Bruce identified. And he's zeroed in on that really, really well, and it's really neat. Okay, let's go on. Let's teach you the ABCs. You think you already know them. Let's go to ABC. Okay.
Okay.
You need to take a deep breath first.
Yes. Okay.
Now, if this guy intimidates you too much, you just wad up a piece of paper and throw it at him. Yes.
Okay.
Stick your tongue out right back at him. There you go.
Okay, the ABCs of management. They're to show us what to do with our goals and once we've set them, okay? Put it on the board.
Sure.
Can I do that? Okay.
Sure, you bet. Let's go over there. Good.
Okay, the ABCs of management. A is activators, and that is anything that you can do to, anything that gets your goal started, okay? Your 1 minute goal is an activator. It's anything. You can pinpoint the problem. You can say, "Hey, okay, this is a problem in my section. What am I going to do about it?" That is your activator. And what you do about it is your behavior. Okay, your behavior is it's when you sit back and you talk to this person, say, "I have a problem in my group. Sally isn't passing off her music. She's just sitting back and letting time go by and is not going to do anything." I'm going to say, "Okay, Sally, this is a problem. What can we do about it? Okay, what can we do about it? It's not what can I make you do? What can you help me do for our section?" And that is behavior. Now I'm going to sit back and I'm going to say, "Okay, Sally, I'll help you do whatever you want. I'll meet with you for the next week every day for 5 minutes at noon, and we'll go over we'll go over one piece of music. Will you do that with me?" And then she'll say, "Okay, yeah." And then we'll go for that next week for 5 minutes. That's all it takes. And then after that week, okay, I'll say, "Sally, can you do it on your own? Do you think you'll do this? Try it even for just 5 minutes a day and try and do it on your own." That's the behavior, okay? I'm going to sit back and let her do it by herself because she's going to know how to do it now, okay? C is consequences. These weeks are over, and I'm going to go up to her. Okay, she's succeeded. She's only got one more piece of music to pass off. She's done a good job. I'm going to go up to there, and I can either say, now because she's done a good job, I can say, "Hey, you're terrific. I'm proud of you that you did that." Or if she hasn't done a good job, I have to try and figure out if it was because she didn't understand. And if she didn't understand, I redirect her, and we go back to the beginning, back to our activators, and we figure out why the goal didn't work, and we set another goal. But if she did understand and just didn't do it, that's when you get to your reprimand or critiquing. And that is just as Bruce explained to you. Okay, you have to remember that you can't reprimand a new person. You can't go up to them and say, hey, I know you can do better, because you don't know that they can do better. You don't know their potential. They might not be able to succeed to very much more than they're doing. So you can't reprimand somebody that doesn't know what to do, okay? You can only reprimand a winner, because then I can go up to Mr. Brockway and say, I know you can do better. I've seen you do better. What's wrong?
I've had kids come up to me and say, Brock, what's the matter with you? You can do better than that.
Okay, and it's also important to remember that our reprimands down here, they don't change, it doesn't change your skills. I can be reprimanded all I want for not being able to play a C sharp, but it's not going to change that. It only changes my attitude. I'm going to try harder to play that C sharp. It doesn't change the fact that I can't play it. So you have to remember that too when you're using this concept. Positive consequences, or praising, it encourages good future performance. So if you want something to be continued, okay, I've practiced 15 minutes, and if I want that to continue, my section leader has to come to me and say, hey, you know, that's terrific. I'm proud of you that you practiced that 15 minutes. That way I'm going to keep it up, because, you know, maybe she'll pick up something else I did right, because I love people to tell me I'm doing something right. You know, it makes me feel good. Okay, it's when to praise and when to reprimand and when to redirect. And that's, I've sort of already went over that. That's when you can't do something is when you redirect. If that person absolutely can't do it, go back to the beginning and just say, it's all right, maybe we set the goal too high for you. And if they won't do something, it's more of an attitude problem, and you just have to go back and say, come on, you can do it, I know you can, let's get it together. Okay, our performance is mainly determined by consequences. Goals count for a lot of it. You have to have a goal before you can get anything done. But if you worked hard on a goal and nobody does anything, what are you going to do? You're just going to sit back and say, nobody noticed. I'm not going to try again. Why should I? Nobody really cares. You know, I can practice hard all night and pass off a piece of music, and then nobody says anything, and I'm relatively new. I'm not going to want to do it again. I never got any praising back from it. No, I didn't get a consequence or anything, and it's just going to make me sit back and not try again. The secret to getting good performance from my section is, when you're not there, is how effectively you deliver your consequences when you are there. My section can work as smooth as anything when I'm there, but it's what happens when I'm gone that really matters. If they can't work when I'm gone, I haven't really done a lot of work. Because I'm here, my section isn't doing anything at home, I'm sort of a failure as a section leader. But I know that they're doing something at home because every person back there is competent enough to get together with my section and work harder. And that's how I know maybe that I'm a success as a section leader. And that's all.
Good shot. Good. They're really tight. These kids are loyal to each other, and they realize they're working to build their band. But it does take some time to get that. Trust comes from you. And you've got to trust that kid so that he can learn, that he can break down his ivory towers and take off all the masks that he wears, just like we do, so that he can trust you back. And that trust cycle deepens, and you're in control of it. You're in control of how much that kid will trust you, but we all have defenses, and every kid, including our youngest one here, who's in 8th grade, has been stomped on many times by many teachers, including maybe you and me. And so it takes time to build trust and to reinforce trust, and trust is the bottom. We said yesterday, trust is the key. That is the bottom line. We pinpoint them. We decide what are the goals specifically, what are the problems. We're into problem solving, and by keeping track of what a kid is doing, we find out what is his track record. We help that kid. We involve him in helping him choose and set his own goals. He becomes a stakeholder. We coach him. We train him. We help him come around to be a success. We want him to be a winner. So we give him the skills he needs to become a winner. We evaluate where are we right now in the process, and then we up the ante and keep the cycle going and spiral it. And you can run this program this little program here with an individual, with a section, with a band, with a school, with a nation, with your children, with your marriage, if you have the guts to get into it. And it takes guts. Good. I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to come. I know we're out of time. I've been given another time signal. I don't know if that time means get out of here or whether we can go on and talk privately for those of you who'd like to. It's been a joyous opportunity to work with these kids for the past 5.5 years. They're winners. Every kid behind me is a winner, as much as the kids who will win first place in national championships on Saturday. They're winners in different ways. You have the same winners in your own bands. They're there. They're just waiting for you to let them be winners. Let go. Give them the opportunity to go for the gold. Have the guts to let go and teach them, coach them, encourage them, love them, cry with them, laugh with them, become winners with them. It's really an exciting thing. It'll change your life. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.